What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the second DIY in this series of servicing the BMW 328i with the N26 motor at 100,000 miles. This time doing the transmission fluid. Last video was the differential fluid, so if you're interested in seeing how that is done, it's an incredibly easy, straightforward process that you can do with basically no specialty tools in your own garage in less than an hour. This time we are doing the transmission fluid, and it's a little bit more involved, but it's still nothing that you can't manage at home. So let me go ahead and show you what we're working with. We have Liqui Moly Top Tec 1800. This is an alternative to the ZF fluid. It's a bit cheaper. We have the new transmission pan with the filter. This is the ZF one. It comes with the gasket installed. You can kind of see it on the camera, but you can definitely feel it. So the first step, we're going to go under the car. We're going to drain the old fluid. So we're not too worried about this pan because we're going to be replacing it anyway. This is the new fill bolt. So if the old one uses the same size, then this is an 8mm hex. We'll go ahead and remove the fill bolt first because we don't want to drain the fluid and then find out we can't fill it for some reason. So we're going to go ahead and take the fill bolt out, drain the fluid, plus also to give airflow so that it will drain faster. Drain the fluid. Then we will remove the old pan, and we have some T40, and then we'll be using these new bolts. We're not reusing the old bolts. Everything that comes off the car will be trashed. The fluid, the old fill plug, the old drain plug, the old pan, all the old bolts attaching it, all of that will be trashed. So we're going to get under the car, we're going to drain the fluid, and then we'll go from there. All right, so it is a little difficult to show you what's going on under here because there's just not a lot of space between the ground and the car. But we have the this plastic pan here that has to come out of the way. It's held in by some 8mm, just like. So this is what the transmission pan looks like, or not the transmission pan, but the cover, the belly pan for the car looks like once it's been removed for the transmission. And it's held in by 8mm, and then it has two 10mm. There's this one here. This is like right above the exhaust, and you really need a 10mm ratcheting wrench to get to it. Socket's just not really going to work. You can't get, the way it's designed, you cannot get the hanger off of it. And then in that back corner over there, you have this plastic 10mm. So you have two 10s and 8/8. Okay, now being under the transmission again, you have access to the pan. Well, almost. You have this little heat shield that's in the way, protecting it from the exhaust heat. I believe these are E10s. I'm not even sure. I'm going to use an 8mm ratcheting wrench with the 12-point because mine are all deep, and I'm not sure I'd be able to access this first one. It'd be a really tight fit. And see, comes off with that pretty easily. All right, now with it out of the way, you can see right here we have our fill bolt. So we're going to go ahead and take that out before we do anything, and then our drain bolt's right underneath it. So hopefully this comes out, and if that comes out, we should be smooth sailing. So once again, like the differential bolt, I had to use a breaker bar, but now it's spinning freely. And we can just go ahead and twist that out with my hand. And let's make sure that the catch is in the way so we don't spill fluid everywhere. I find it hilarious that they put lifetime oil, and they say only use BMW oil. This transmission is used in everything from Land Rovers to Chryslers, so this is a very common transmission. And oh, we got a lot coming out the fill side. All right. So right below, we have a 10mm hex key to remove the plastic drain bolt. And then after that, we will remove the pan itself once we're finished draining the fluid. So of course I ran into a problem and I can't get the bolt out. It is stripped, it is plastic welded itself shut. I don't really know what's going on, but the 10mm Allen key just turns. I mean, it gives a little bit of resistance and then it just slips. And so I decided I put a jack under the transmission pan so I don't have to catch it when it falls. And I'm just going to undo it and then try to dump the fluid as best I can right on into the drain thing because I don't see another way to do this. So that's the plan. Well, I didn't quite get what I was going for, but it's draining. It's draining into the pan. We're going to let that just kind of finish draining. From there, we have all but 3 bolts out. I left 4 corners in, and then when I removed the first corner, this is what happened. So there shouldn't be any more bolts holding it on. So let's just try to lower it, and we're going to see, is this a disaster or is this a good idea? Let's see. Oh, it's a mess. It's coming out. Well, it looks like I'm going to have a little bit of cleanup on my hands down here, but at least it's off. So we have the old pan and the new pan side by side here, and the filter design looks a little bit different. I don't know, maybe it was been changed throughout the years or something. I mean, I'm sure this is original to the car. And but I mean, more or less they look the same. The outside design, obviously the same. This is the ZF pan. I got it from FCP Euro. I will go ahead and attach this pan. And just one thing before I go and install the new pan. Obviously, it can only go in one way. You have this one side that is curved, and the other 3 sides are more square. So you just have to match up your, your curved side. And also, the drain bolt goes directly underneath the fill bolt. So there's 2 easy ways to identify that you have it on right. So you're going to want to put these on in a crisscross pattern. I'm going to start with the 4 corners just to kind of make sure it's supported on each side, and then I'm going to put them all on. You want to torque them to spec. Honestly, as long as they're snug, that's really all you need. They weren't super tight when I took the old ones off. The gasket is going to really do the sealing, not the tightness of it. So as long as it's snug, you'll be fine. Okay, so at this point, we've got the fluid. We're ready to put it in. The pan's on. Everything's snug. We've done a crisscross pattern the whole way across, twice just to make sure, because when you do that, the first bolt you do will inevitably be loose when you come back to it. Just sort of how it works. And so now we've got this, and we have this little siphon pump. Now we have the one that I used for the differential fluid as well, but this one's easier to use. It screws on, but you see, it doesn't go very far. So I mean, when you squeeze the bottle, it will bring the level up, and you'll be able to get most of it. But what I'm just going to do is keep using one and then keep adding more fluid to the same bottle. And then hopefully at the end of that, whatever's left we won't need. And if we do, well, then I can go use the other pump. But for right now, this is what we're going to do. Okay, so at this point, I filled the car until I had fluid coming back. I put about 3.5 quarts in. When that fluid started coming back out, turn the car on. We're getting it up to operating temperature. You want the car to be between 40 and 50 degrees Celsius. So I'm actually using my phone to film this on, so I can't show you the beamer link. I'm going to take a screenshot of the gauges, just checking that I'm using beamer link to check the temperature. So while we're doing that, we are shifting through the gears. So we are, doing this number, trying to make sure we run through all the manual gears. I'm doing that quickly because if you wait too long, it will shift back to 2 on its own because it knows you're not moving anywhere. We want to go to neutral. And we also want to go to reverse. And we want to go through each one at least 3 times. So I've already done it a couple times. And then we want to, when we're at 40 degrees Celsius, we want to go back down there and we want to keep pumping fluid until we spill back again. All right, guys, so at this point, the fluid spilled over while the car was in the 40 to 50 degree operating range. I'm not exactly sure what it was at. It was 44 when I checked to go back under. When I came back up, it was 47, but no matter what, it was within that range. So now, as we end all these videos, well, actually, before we do that, just I put the new bolt in. I still got to put the pan back on. It is not fun doing the transmission fluid on the ground with just a little hand pump like I showed you earlier. I mean, it is tiring. It's uncomfortable. But anyway, whatever. It's done, and it's done for a whole lot cheaper than a dealership would. So, or any shop, really. And now we're going to go ahead and just see what this fluid looks like, just in true fashion. Well, as in true form, it looks pretty gross. It's black. It's not, it's not sludgy or anything. Don't see any bits of metal or anything in it. You know, I think that 100,000 miles is a good time to change it. I mean, BMW says lifetime. ZF says to change it at 80,000 kilometers, I believe, which is like 50,000 miles. So this is double ZF's recommended service interval. You know, it's really hard to just tell by looking at it, let alone when it's in a red bucket. But, yeah, that's how you change the fluid on these things. I know it wasn't the best view because it's really hard to just in such a small area. But, you know, I want to make this as realistic as possible. I don't want it to look like, you know, super curated or anything like that. This is how it is. This is what I did. And I showed you the errors I ran into and how I had to overcome them. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.